At a party, she laughed and left with another man after declaring our marriage was over. The next morning, she came home wearing yesterday's dress and clutching my wedding ring like it was trash. That was before the mysterious phone call revealed her lover's dark pattern. Before I discovered she'd stolen our retirement money for 7 months, and before I realized this wasn't just cheating, this was systematic destruction. What I found in those bank records would destroy her. My name is Arthur Reed. I'm 44 years old, and I used to think I had it all figured out. IT consulting pays well enough to keep our family comfortable in suburban Denver. Eleanor and I have been married 16 years, and our son Louis just turned 12. On paper, we look like the American dream. Nice house, good school district, retirement savings growing steadily. I worked mostly from home, which meant I could drive Louis to baseball practice and be there for the important stuff. But marriage isn't lived on paper, is it? The cracks started showing about 8 months ago, though I didn't call him that at the time. Eleanor, who used to curl up next to me during our Friday movie nights, suddenly had urgent work calls during our family time. She started going out with her girlfriends more often, coming home later, always with some story about traffic or a flat tire. When I'd suggest we grab dinner together, just the two of us, she'd get this look, not annoyed exactly, but like I was interrupting something important. I told myself it was normal. Marriage counselors always talk about how couples need space to grow, right? Eleanor worked as a marketing coordinator for a mid-sized firm downtown, and she was ambitious. Maybe she was just focused on her career. Maybe I was being clingy. The night that changed everything was supposed to be a celebration. Eleanor's company was throwing their annual holiday party at some fancy rooftop venue downtown. She'd been talking about it for weeks. Bought a new dress, got her hair done. She looked stunning. The kind of beautiful that reminded me why I fell for her in the first place. "You sure you don't mind staying home with Louis?" she asked, adjusting her earrings in the hallway mirror. "Of course not," I said, kissing her cheek. "You have fun. You deserve it after all the hours you've been putting in." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks, Arthur. I'll probably be late. You know how these work things go." I should have gone with her. I should have insisted, but I didn't want to be that husband, the jealous type who couldn't let his wife have her own life. So, I stayed home, helped Louis with his math homework, and watched the Denver Broncos lose another game I'd recorded. At the party, she laughed and left with another man, telling her coworkers our marriage was already over. But I didn't know that yet. I wouldn't find out until the next morning when everything I thought I knew about my life came tumbling down like a house of cards. I woke up at 6:30, same as always. The bed beside me was empty, sheets cold. Eleanor's pillow looked like it hadn't been touched. I figured she'd crashed at her friend Victoria's place. Wouldn't be the first time after a company party. I made coffee, got Louis ready for school, packed his lunch. Normal Tuesday morning routine. "Where's Mom?" Louis asked, shoving cereal into his mouth. "She had a late night at her work party," I said, ruffling his hair. "She'll probably sleep in today." But she wasn't sleeping in. At 8:45, just after I dropped Louis at school, I heard the front door open. Eleanor walked in wearing the same black dress from the night before, her makeup smeared, carrying her heels in one hand. She froze when she saw me standing in the kitchen doorway. "You're up early," she said, avoiding my eyes. "Same time as always," I replied, studying her face. There was something different there. Not guilt exactly, but something harder. "Rough night." Eleanor walked past me to the coffee maker. Her movements careful, deliberate. Victoria's couch isn't exactly comfortable. I knew Victoria. Victoria was married to my buddy Mark from the bowling league. Victoria lived 15 minutes from the party venue, not 45 minutes like Eleanor's drive home would have been. Victoria mentioned the party was pretty wild when Mark called this morning, I said, watching her reaction. Eleanor's hand paused on a coffee mug. "Mark called you?" "Yeah, around 7. He was looking for his wallet. Thought maybe he left it in Victoria's car." I hadn't talked to Mark, but Eleanor didn't need to know that. Sometimes my IT background comes in handy. Debugging problems, finding inconsistencies in systems or stories. She turned around then, and I saw something in her expression I'd never seen before. Not the woman I'd married. Not the mother who read bedtime stories to our son. This was someone else entirely. Arthur, she said, her voice steady and cold. We need to talk. I pour myself another cup of coffee, taking my time. I'm listening. Last night, I realized something about us, about this marriage. She gestured around our kitchen like it was a crime scene. I can't do this anymore. The words hung in the air between us like smoke. I'd expected an explanation about staying out all night. Maybe an argument about trust or communication. I hadn't expected a declaration of war. Can't do what exactly? I asked. Pretend that we're happy. Pretend that this is enough. Her voice was gaining strength now, like she was warming up to a speech she practiced. I need more than this, Arthur. More than routine and responsibility, and this being our family. This being your idea of what our family should be. I set down my coffee mug carefully. My hands were steady, but something deep in my chest felt like it was starting to collapse. So, what happened last night, Eleanor, at the party? For the first time that morning, she smiled. And that smile told me everything I needed to know about how my marriage had ended without me even knowing it was dying. Eleanor's smile faded when she saw I wasn't falling apart. Maybe she expected tears, begging, promises to change. Instead, I pulled out my phone and opened the security app for our home cameras. What are you doing? She asked, her voice sharp. Checking the garage camera. See what time you actually got home. I scrolled through the timeline. Interesting. Your car pulled in at 3:47 a.m. That's pretty late for Victoria's couch. Her face went pale. You're spying on me now? I'm protecting my family. There's a difference. I set the phone on the counter between us. So, let's try this again. Where were you last night? Eleanor stared at the phone like it was a snake ready to strike. Then she laughed. Not the nervous giggle I remembered, but something bitter and cold. Fine. You want the truth? I was with someone from the party. Someone who actually sees me as more than a housekeeper and taxi driver for our son. The words hit like a punch, but I kept my voice steady. Who? Does it matter? The point is, I felt alive for the first time in years. Do you understand that, Arthur? Alive. I picked up my coffee mug, took a slow sip. So, this isn't about one night. This has been going on for a while. She looked surprised that I'd figured it out so quickly. A few months. How many months? Since August. 6 months. I did the math automatically. Our 15th wedding anniversary dinner, where she seemed distracted. The weekend she claimed to visit her sister, but came back with a tan from somewhere sunny. All those late-night work calls. What's his name? I asked. Fabian Muller. He works in digital marketing for a tech startup. She said like she was proud of him, like he was some kind of prize she'd won. Married. Divorced 2 years ago. Kids. No. She emphasized the word like it was an advantage. I nodded slowly, processing the information like I would any system failure. Identify the problem. Understand the scope. Determine if it's fixable or if you need to replace the entire component. Eleanor, I said, finally, I need you to understand something. This conversation isn't about winning you back. It's about figuring out how to protect our son while we end this marriage. Her confident expression wavered. What? You heard me. I'm not fighting for a woman who's been lying to me for 6 months. I'm planning for what comes next. I stood up, dumping the rest of my coffee in the sink. You can pack a bag and stay wherever you want while we sort out custody and finances. But I'm not playing this game where you pretend to be conflicted while you're already gone. For the first time that morning, Eleanor looked genuinely shocked. Maybe she thought I'd beg her to stay, promise to change, give her the dramatic scene she could use to justify her choices. Instead, I walked upstairs to start calling lawyers. Louis got home from school at 3:15. Same as always. I was waiting in the kitchen with his snack, apple slices, and peanut butter, the way he liked it since he was 5. Dad, where's Mom's car? He asked, dropping his backpack by the door. She's staying at a friend's place for a few days, I said, keeping my tone casual. We're working through some grown-up stuff. Louis studied my face with those sharp 12-year-old eyes that missed nothing. Are you getting divorced? The question hit me harder than Eleanor's confession had. This was the part I've been dreading, explaining to our son that his world was about to change forever. Buddy, come sit down. We sat at the kitchen table where I'd helped him with countless homework assignments, where we'd built model airplanes and talked about everything from baseball stats to why some kids at school were mean. Your mom and I are having problems that we can't fix, I said. That doesn't mean we don't love you. That'll never change. Is she coming back? She'll come get her things, and you'll see her regularly. But no, she won't be living here anymore. Louis nodded slowly like he was processing a complex equation. Stefan's parents got divorced last year. He said it's weird at first, but you get used to it. How do you feel about all this? Sad, but also. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Mom's been different lately, like angry all the time, even when she was smiling. Smart kid. He'd picked up on the tension I'd been trying to ignore. Dad, did she do something bad? I chose my words carefully. She made choices that hurt our family, but that's between her and me, not you. You don't have to pick sides or worry about taking care of anyone's feelings except your own. Okay. He grabbed an apple slice. Can I still play baseball this spring? Of course. Nothing about your life has to change except where Mom lives. That evening, I call my brother Jonas in Phoenix. Jonas is a straight shooter. No nonsense. The kind of guy who'd been through his own divorce 5 years earlier. She's been cheating for 6 months? Jonas asked after I explained the situation. At least, and she just confessed this morning like it was no big deal. Pretty much. Brother, you did the right thing. Don't let her make this about your shortcomings as a husband. She's the one who broke the vows. I know, but Louis is taking it hard. Kids are tougher than we think. Just be consistent, be honest, and don't badmouth his mother, even if she deserves it. After hanging up, I sat in my home office and started making lists. Lawyer recommendations, custody schedules, financial planning. My IT training kicked in, break down the complex problem into manageable components, tackle them one at a time. Eleanor had blown up our life, but I wasn't going to let her control how we put the pieces back together. 3 days after Eleanor moved out to her friend Victoria's place, which we both knew was really Fabian's apartment, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Is this Arthur Reed? The voice was female, professional, but with an edge of nervousness. Depends on who's asking. My name is Isabel. I think we need to meet. It's about your wife and my brother. I set down my coffee mug carefully. Your brother being Fabian Muller? Yes. Can you meet me at Riverside Park tomorrow at noon? There's something you need to know about what Eleanor's really been up to. After she hung up, I sat staring at the phone for 10 minutes. Part of me wanted to ignore it. I'd already made my decision about the marriage, already contacted a lawyer, already started the process of moving forward. But another part, the part that debugs systems for a living, needed to understand the full scope of the problem. The next day, I found Isabel sitting on a bench near the playground, clutching a manila envelope like it contained evidence of war crimes. She was maybe 37, professional looking with the kind of tired eyes that suggested she'd been dealing with difficult people for a while. Thank you for coming, she said as I approached. Lady, at this point, I'm not sure of anything. What's this about? Ivy opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of photographs. These are from my brother's phone. Screenshots of text messages between him and your wife going back 7 months. 7 months, not 6, like Eleanor had claimed. I took the photos and started reading. The texts were worse than I'd imagined. Not just an affair planning, but detailed discussions about Eleanor's exit strategy. How she was slowly moving money from our joint savings into a personal account. How she was documenting every argument we'd had, every time I'd raised my voice, building a case that I was emotionally abusive to use in divorce proceedings. One message from Eleanor made my blood run cold. Arthur has no idea about the retirement fund transfers. By the time he figures it out, I'll have enough for a fresh start. How much? I asked, my voice tight. Based on these conversations, probably $40,000 so far, maybe more. $40,000. Money I'd earned through years of overtime, late-night client calls, weekend emergency fixes, money we'd planned to use for Louis's college, for our retirement, for the life we'd supposedly been building together. Why are you showing me this? I asked. Isabel's expression hardened. Because Fabian isn't the first married woman my brother's been involved with. This is his pattern. He finds unhappy wives, convinces them their husbands are holding them back, helps them plan their escape, and then disappears once the divorce gets messy. He's done this before. 3 times that I know of. Always the same story. The woman leaves her husband, moves in with Fabian, then discovers he's already moved on to someone else. He leaves them broke, homeless, and alienated from their families. I studied the woman's face. So why warn me? Why not warn Eleanor? I tried. She told me I was jealous of her happiness. Isabel shook her head. Look, I don't care what happens to your marriage, but you have a son and you deserve to know what you're really up against. That evening, I did something that probably wasn't entirely legal, but felt absolutely necessary. I checked her bank accounts. All of them. Eleanor had been clever about it. Small transfers, never more than $2,000 at a time, always with legitimate-sounding descriptions. Emergency car repair, Lewis's tutoring, medical expenses. But when I added them up over 7 months, the total was staggering. $63,000. She had taken $63,000 from our retirement savings and transferred it to an account I'd never seen before. I called my lawyer, Beatrice Hewitt, at 8 p.m. Beatrice, it's Arthur Reed. I know it's late, but this is urgent. What's wrong? Beatrice was former military, the kind of attorney who didn't waste time on small talk. I explained about the missing money, the screenshots from Isabel, Eleanor's apparent long-term plan to destroy me financially and legally. Can she do this? Can she just take money from our joint accounts? Technically, yes. But if we can prove she was planning to defraud you or hide assets, that changes everything. Email me those screenshots immediately. What about Lewis? If she's been planning this exit strategy for months, what's to stop her from taking him out of state? Nothing. Unless we get ahead of this. I'm filing emergency motions first thing Monday morning. Temporary custody order, asset freeze, the works. After hanging up, I sat in my office thinking about the woman I'd married 16 years ago. The nursing student who'd held my hand during my father's cancer treatment. The young mother who'd stayed up all night when Lewis had pneumonia. The wife who'd celebrated every promotion, every client's success, every small victory in our shared life. That woman was gone, had been gone for months, maybe years, while I was busy trying to provide for a family that one member was actively planning to destroy. But I wasn't going to let her take my son, and I wasn't going to let her steal the future we'd built together, even if she no longer wanted to be part of it. Around 10 p.m., Lewis knocked on my office door. Dad, you've been in here for hours. Are you okay? I looked at my son, tall for 12, serious like his old man, but still young enough to believe that adults generally did the right thing. Come here, buddy. He sat in the chair across from my desk, the same chair where he'd done homework while I worked late on client projects. Lewis, I need to tell you something about what's happening with your mom and me. It's more complicated than I originally explained. Is she trying to take me away from you? The question hit like a physical blow. Why would you ask that? She's been asking weird questions lately. Like, am I happy here? Do I ever think about living somewhere else? Would I want to meet her new friends? He paused. It felt like she was testing me. Smart kid. Too smart for his own good sometimes. I don't know what she's planning regarding custody, I said honestly. But I want you to know that I'm going to fight for you. Not because you're a possession, but because you're my son and this is your home. What if she makes me choose? Then you tell her that 12-year-olds shouldn't have to make choices that adults created. And no matter what happens, I'll always be your father. The call came from Lewis's principal at 10:30 on a Thursday morning. Mr. Reed, we need you to come to the school immediately. Lewis got into a fight during recess. My son had never been in a fight in his life. He was the kid who helped other kids with their math homework, who brought home injured birds to nurse back to health. When I arrived at Jefferson Middle School, I found Lewis sitting outside Principal Davies's office with a split lip and grass stains on his shirt. The other kid, a 7th grader named Stefan, had a bloody nose and was crying to his mother about how unfair everything was. What happened? I asked, kneeling beside Lewis's chair. Stefan said stuff about Mom. Bad stuff. Lewis's voice was tight with anger and embarrassment. He said, everyone knows she's sleeping around, and that's why she doesn't live with us anymore. My jaw clenched. Small towns have big mouths, and apparently word about Eleanor's situation had reached the middle school gossip network. So you hit him, he said. You were probably a loser if your own wife didn't want to be married to you anymore. Lewis looked up at me with fierce 12-year-old loyalty. I told him to take it back. He laughed. Principal Davies called us into her office where Stefan's mother, Carla Werner, a woman I'd known since Lewis started kindergarten, was demanding suspension, detention, and formal apologies. Carla wouldn't make eye contact with me. Boys will be boys, I said calmly. But my son needs to learn to handle conflicts without violence. Your son attacked Stefan unprovoked. Carla snapped. According to witnesses, Stefan was making inappropriate comments about my family situation. Principal Davies interjected. While that doesn't excuse physical violence, it does provide context. I turned to Carla. Maybe you and your husband could explain to Stefan that spreading rumors about other families isn't appropriate playground behavior. Carla's face reddened. Maybe if you'd kept better control of your wife, our children wouldn't have to deal with this kind of drama at school. The words hung in the air like smoke from a crashed aircraft. Principal Davies looked horrified. Lewis's hands balled into fists. Ma'am, I said, my voice deadly calm. My personal life isn't up for discussion at a middle school discipline meeting. But since he brought it up, let me be clear. My son will not be bullied or shamed because of choices his mother made. If Stefan wants to repeat gossip he heard from adults, he can deal with the consequences. I stood up. Lewis, apologize to Stefan for hitting him. I'm sorry I hit you, Lewis said, not sounding sorry at all. But I'm not sorry for defending my dad. Good enough, I said. Let's go home. That evening, I sat Lewis down for one of the hardest conversations of my life. Buddy, I need you to understand something about what happened at school today. I know I shouldn't have hit Stefan, he said. But, Dad, the things he was saying were probably true. The words tasted like ash. Your mom has been seeing another man. She's been lying to both of us for months. Lewis stared at me. So Stefan was right about your mom cheating? Yes. About me being a loser? That's a matter of opinion. I managed a grim smile. But son, you can't fight every kid who says something mean about our family. There are going to be more comments, more whispers, more people who think they know our business. It's not fair. No, it's not. But fighting at school isn't going to fix anything. It's just going to make things harder for you. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Lewis asked, Dad, are we going to be okay? Like financially and stuff. Smart kid, too smart. I won't lie to you. Your mom took a lot of money from our savings. Money we planned to use for your college. I saw panic flicker across his face. But I've been working since I was 16 years old, and I've never failed to provide for my family. You'll go to college. We'll keep this house. We'll be fine. What about Mom? Will she be okay? The question surprised me. After everything Eleanor had done, Lewis was still worried about her. Your mom made her choices. She'll have to live with the consequences. Do you hate her? I considered the question carefully. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I feel betrayed. But hate? No. You can't hate someone for 16 years and then suddenly start. Besides, she's still your mother. Can I ask you something else? Always. When you and Mom got married, did you think it would end like this? No, buddy. When I married your mom, I thought we'd grow old together. I thought we'd watch you graduate, go to college, maybe get married yourself someday. I thought we'd be grandparents together. I put my arm around his shoulders. But sometimes people change in ways you don't expect. Sometimes they become someone you don't recognize. Like Mom became someone who lies and steals. Like Mom became someone who forgot that families are supposed to take care of each other, not hurt each other. That night after Lewis went to bed, I called Eleanor. She answered on the fourth ring, sounding breathless and annoyed. What do you want, Arthur? Our son got into a fight at school today because kids are talking about your affair. Silence. Eleanor, are you listening to me? It's not my fault. Kids repeat gossip. It's your fault there's gossip to repeat. My patience was wearing thin. Lewis is 12 years old. He shouldn't have to defend his family's honor on the playground. Maybe if you hadn't turned him against me. I haven't said a word against you to that boy. But he's not blind and he's not stupid. He knows something's wrong when his mother disappears for days at a time. I'm building a new life, Arthur. I'm sorry if that's inconvenient for you. The casual cruelty in her voice hit me like a slap. This was the woman who had once cried watching Lewis take his first steps. Eleanor, Tomorrow I'm filing for full custody and requesting that all marital assets be frozen until we go to court. My lawyer has evidence of the money you've stolen. Stolen? That's our money. It was our money. Now it's theft. I kept my voice steady. You made your bed. Time to lie in it. 6 weeks later, I was sitting in family court watching Eleanor's lawyer try to explain why stealing $63,000 was actually financial self-preservation. When my phone buzzed with a text from Isabel. Fabian's gone, disappeared 3 days ago. Eleanor's been calling me nonstop. I showed the message to my lawyer, Beatrice, who smiled grimly. Right on schedule. Judge Margaret Foster was not impressed with Eleanor's performance. My wife sat at the defendant's table looking like she'd aged 5 years and 2 months. The confident woman who had walked out on our marriage had been replaced by someone desperate and confused. Mrs. Reed, Judge Foster said, can you explain these financial transfers to the court? Eleanor's lawyer whispered something urgent in her ear. Your Honor, my client was preparing for an inevitable divorce and securing her financial future by stealing from joint retirement accounts without her husband's knowledge or consent. The money was legally accessible to both parties. The pattern of deception documented here suggests premeditation to defraud, counselor. This wasn't financial planning. This was theft. During the lunch recess, Eleanor approached me in the hallway. She looked broken, desperate. Arthur, please. We can work this out without destroying each other. Where's Fabian? I asked. Her face crumpled. He's gone. Just disappeared. Won't answer calls, emails, nothing. I went to his apartment. The landlord says he moved out 2 weeks ago. And the money you gave him? I didn't give him. She stopped, realizing she had just confirmed another suspicion. How much, Eleanor? $28,000. The words came out as a whisper. He said we needed startup capital for when we moved to California together. I stared at the woman I'd loved for 16 years. And now he's gone, and I'm broke, and everyone thinks I'm a terrible person. Tears started flowing. I lost everything, Arthur. Everything. No, I said quietly. You threw everything away. There's a difference. That afternoon, Judge Foster awarded me full custody of Lewis, ordered the return of all stolen funds, though we both knew that wasn't happening, and granted Eleanor supervised visitation twice a month. As we left the courthouse, Eleanor made one last desperate attempt. I know you hate me, but please don't turn Lewis against me completely. I don't hate you, I said. Honestly, I pity you. You had a family that loved you, a life that was solid and good, and you destroyed it chasing something that was never real. She walked away crying, and I felt nothing but relief. 8 months later, Lewis and I were sitting in our new apartment, smaller than the house, but it felt more like home than anywhere we'd lived with Eleanor. I'd taken a promotion that required more travel, but the pay increase meant I could rebuild our savings faster. Dad, there's something I want to tell you, Lewis said one evening while we were making dinner together. What's up, buddy? I saw Mom last weekend during my visit. She's working at some retail store now, living in a studio apartment across town. He paused, choosing his words carefully. She asked me if I was mad at her. What did you tell her? I told her I wasn't mad, just disappointed. She made choices that hurt people, and now she has to live with those consequences. Smart kid, wise beyond his years. How do you feel about that? Sad for her, I guess, but not guilty anymore. He looked up at me. For a while, I thought maybe if I'd been a better son, she wouldn't have left. That was never about you, Lewis. Adult problems belong to adults. I know that now. That weekend, Sophie Miller, Detective Miller's younger sister, who taught 4th grade at Lewis's school, stopped by to pick up some lesson plans I'd helped her design for a technology unit. Sophie was smart, kind, and had never been married. We've been talking more often lately, and I found myself looking forward to her visits. How are you adjusting to single parenthood? She asked over coffee. Better than I expected. Turns out it's easier when you're not constantly wondering what your partner is hiding. Any regrets about how things ended with Eleanor? I thought about it carefully. I regret that it happened at all. I regret that Lewis had to go through it. But I don't regret standing up for myself and protecting what mattered most, which was my son, my integrity, my future. Sophie smiled. Those are good things to protect. That night, As I was tucking Lewis into bed, he asked me something that caught me off guard. Dad, do you think you'll ever get married again? Maybe someday, if I meet the right person. Someone like Miss Miller? I looked at my son, wondering when he'd gotten so perceptive. Maybe. I think she likes you. What makes you say that? She laughs at your jokes, even the dumb ones. And she always asks about you when she sees me at school. Well, we'll see what happens. Dad. Yeah, buddy. I'm glad Mom left. The word shocked me. Lewis, I know that sounds mean, but I am. She was making everyone miserable, including herself. Now we're happy again. I sat on the edge of his bed, thinking about how much we'd both grown over the past year. You know what I learned from all this? What? That sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. It just takes a while to see it. Like Mom leaving made room for better people in our lives. Exactly like that. As I turned off his light and headed to my own room, I realized something profound. I was genuinely happy for the first time in years. Not relieved, not grateful to have survived. Actually happy. Eleanor had done me a favor by showing me who she really was. Now I could build something real with someone who deserved it.